My son couldn't afford the life-saving medication he needed. He had insurance through his job.
Even so, his prescription cost him $1,200 a month, more than his rent. So last year, he switched to a cheaper, over-the-counter version.
The switch caused a shock to his system.
Within months, he died.
I prioritize the heart stuff over the insulin because the heart stuff is more immediate. I know over time diabetes will kill me, but it'll take a longer time. And I know that without the heart failure drugs, I only have 13% function of my heart. I don't want to play with that. Okay. I don't like the stress of thinking about how I'm going to pay for my meds. You know, how's it going to, because I'm never going to have any more money or any less money.
A new study finds 1 in 3 Americans on Medicare and who do not qualify for low-income subsidies do not fill prescriptions for their cancer drugs because of the soaring costs.
As many as 230,000 of our veterans are suffering from hepatitis C. But fortunately, there is a cure for it, and the VA cannot provide it because it's too expensive.
If your child needed a medication that cost $2.1 million, how would you pay for it? Medication Zolgensma, which is used to treat spinal muscular atrophy, which can be a fatal condition, currently costs $2.1 million.
I have stage 4 lung cancer, and I am on an immunotherapy medication that is quite literally keeping me alive. And for the 2.5 years that I've had cancer, this whole time that I've been on this medication, I thought that it was $2,500 a month. My medication does not cost $2,500 a month. It costs $21,000 a month. But like $21,000 for one bottle?
Everyone knows that prescription drugs in America are insanely expensive. Just take your average asthma inhaler for example. Without insurance, an inhaler in America costs around $400. In France, that same inhaler goes for just $50. And the French inhaler isn't some cheap, low-quality alternative. It's literally the exact same one as in the US. This means that somewhere between the inhaler being produced and it being sold to some American sucker, someone is pocketing that $350 difference. And that someone could be you! There are billions to be made by ripping off Americans in Big Pharma. But if you want in on some of those billions, you gotta know who's pocketing the most money. But figuring out exactly where all that money is going isn't exactly easy. Big Pharma is very secretive, and for good reason. No Big Pharma executive wants poor Grandma Susie's social security check being traced back to their pockets, so the details of this industry are kept a careful secret. But that doesn't mean a few things haven't slipped out over the years. Over the years, many people have started to point the finger at pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs. PBMs are middlemen, and reports have been swirling for years about how these evil middlemen make billions by jacking up prescription drug prices. Even the people in the industry love pointing the finger at PBMs. But is that really all there is to it? Big Pharma is huge, so are these middlemen really the only ones responsible for crazy prices like these? Or are PBMs just a convenient scapegoat for everyone to put the blame on? Well, to find out, I decided to ask an insider. Say hi to Doug Behrens. Doug was high up in the big pharma industry for about 30 years, so he understands exactly how the industry works and where all those juicy profits actually goes.
72% of Americans take at least one medication, and 35% of Americans take at least 3 medications a day. So we consume 80% of all the prescriptions in the world. And sadly, is that what you alluded to is that we have a prescription drug cost problem in America. Let's just say in my 30 years in the industry, prescription drugs used to be 2 cents of the healthcare dollar, and now it's 30 to 50 cents of the healthcare dollar. It's on what they say, it's driving the healthcare dollar.
After he got disgusted with the insane greed in Big Pharma, he left it all behind to create America First Pharmacy, where all you have to do is pay an affordable monthly membership and you'll get access to 800 plus generic medications for free. So Doug has some pretty eye-opening things to say about how Big Pharma actually works. So sit back, relax, and let's learn how to get rich. Our journey starts with the drug manufacturers. As a drug manufacturer, the name of the game is inventing new drugs and getting a patent for it. Now you may be thinking, but Jake, inventing new drugs that are actually better than the current drugs is really hard. And yes, it is. But luckily, there is no law in America saying that new drugs have to be better than existing drugs. They just have to be new. People like shiny new things, more on this later. But yeah, patenting new drugs is the name of the game. A patent gives you 20 years of complete control over your new drug from the moment it was invented. That's more than enough time to get it tested, approved, so you can sell it for whatever price you want. And that is the beauty of America. See, in other countries, you can't just sell drugs for whatever price you want. Go to any other country in the world, and the process of setting drug prices looks very similar. A drug manufacturer invents a new drug, they patent it, test it, get it approved, and then it goes to the government, where regulators decide whether the country really needs this new drug and what the fair price for it should be. In Australia, the committee in charge of approving new drugs is so strict that it's actually denied half of the anti-cancer drugs that have applied over the past 10 years, all because of the benefits of these new drugs didn't seem to be worth the cost. Even if big pharma companies in other countries wanted to overcharge, they're not allowed to. But lucky for you, none of this applies in America. You won't find the American government doing something as socialist as price controls. They're not gonna ensure citizens can afford the medications they need. No, no, no. In America, we live by the free market economy. And if you can't afford it, well, you can die by it too. Which brings us to step number 2. In America, since there is no such regulatory committee to decide if new drugs are actually worth it, you do not need to prove that your drug is better than the ones already on the markets. As long as you can show your product is safe and effective, the FDA will approve it. And then you can sell it for as much as you want. So if you decide to charge $1,000 for a pill that only costs you $1 to make, well, no one is forcing Louis Vuitton or Chanel to lower their prices. If someone can't afford it, they should probably budget better. They should probably work harder. Just look at what the former CEO of Bayer, one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world, said. When he was asked about how India is trying to create a cheaper version of a cancer drug Bayer was selling, that Bayer charges almost $70,000 a year for, this is what he said. Quote, "Is it going to have a big effect on our business model? No, because we did not develop this drug for the Indian market, let's be honest. We developed this product for Western patients who can afford this product," end quotes. They literally invented the drug just so they can charge prices only Westerners can afford. But it gets even better, because once your drug is approved by the FDA, you're practically guaranteed sales. See, in other countries, people would just avoid buying drugs that are insanely expensive if there was a cheaper alternative available. But in America, we've got a little something called Medicaid. And Medicaid has given its members coverage for all FDA-approved drugs, no matter how much they cost. So if a doctor prescribes a $1,000 drug to a Medicaid patient, even if there's a cheaper $100 alternative, Medicaid has to pay for it. And all those sweet American tax dollars go straight into your pockets. This part is not very free market of America at all, but it does work in your favor. You don't need to worry about improving drugs, you just need to make sure whatever drugs do get approved are as expensive as possible. But once you do have a new drug patented, how are you gonna get the word out? Well, that brings us to step number 3, whipping out the marketing machine.
Effects like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea may lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems.
Looking to get back in your type 2 diabetes zone? Ask your healthcare provider today about once-weekly Ozempic.
You may pay as little as $25 for a 3-month prescription.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement. And that means everything. Now's the time to ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
America is the only country in the world where drugs are advertised on TV, just like Pepsi during the Super Bowl. The only other country that allows this is New Zealand, which is pretty crazy to think about.
It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling, and the disconnect is the fact that we allow manufacturers to advertise drugs on TV, but yet an American can't go right to their computer and buy a drug. So why are you advertising? It's like advertising a pizza on TV while you're watching a football game, but you can't go buy it. It's bizarre. So they advertise, I guess hoping that when you go see your doctor, you're going to bring up the name. I mean, Skyrizi, for goodness sakes. What does Skyrizi have to do with watching Monday Night Football? Skyrizi is a very new drug, but the regimen is $17,000 a month. You tell me what American can sit there on the couch and go, "Oh yeah, I want Skyrizi. I think I'll order that. $17,000 a month." I don't know. I find the disconnect. Why they would do that.
Pharmaceutical companies spend over $6 billion a year marketing their drugs to the masses, and they keep doing it because it works.
They're going to go to their doctor and say, "Hey, I saw Skyrizi. Is that something for me?" Or Ozempic, because obviously another one.
In other countries, there may only be 1 or 2 drugs available to treat a specific condition. So someone goes to the doctor, and the doctor will only have 1 or 2 drugs available to prescribe to them. But in America, the more the merrier. There are so many different types of drugs on the market that doctors have a lot of different choices to choose from. It's kind of like the secret menu at Starbucks. Patients can actually ask for a specific drug they saw on TV, and although the doctor is not supposed to listen to them, depending on how open-minded the doctor is, they might consider it. That is the beauty of Big Pharma in America. Why spend decades perfecting a safer, more effective drug when you can just make a more marketable drug, and then blast Americans with ads about it? But keep in mind, all this marketing will be useless if doctors don't know about your drug. The patient will ask about your drug that the doctor never heard of, and it will just go in one ear and right out the other. So you gotta market to the doctors next.
People respond to incentives. When there's money, companies respond, doctors respond,
right?
Everybody. So an ophthalmologist called me a few weeks ago. There's a drug, and the drug works, okay? It's good. It's good for people if something called wet macular degeneration, okay? It's something that older people get, and it can blind you. So there's a couple drugs that actually work for it. Ophthalmologists administer them in their offices. So a drug like that, the ophthalmologist actually buys and charges Medicare or the private insurer for. Okay, what's happening, and I saw this with a different drug when I worked at the New York Times 15 years ago, so nothing ever changes. These companies all play the same games, is that the companies that make this drug are giving doctors a rebate on the purchase price. And the more you use, the bigger the rebate. And this is a drug that costs thousands of dollars per person per year. Okay, it's dosed multiple times a year for a lot of these people. So what all this adds up to is if you're an ophthalmologist who's using a lot of this, the company is cutting you a check for 5 or sometimes 6 figures, sometimes multiple times a year. Okay, don't tell me that's not a bribe. Okay, because that's a bribe. It may be legal. They may have found a way to do this. And he showed me the check that his company or that his ophthalmology practice had received, and it was huge. Okay, and by the way, these doctors make a lot of money on their own just doing the procedure. They don't need this, but it's a way for the drug company to get them to use this more. And so in this case, the guy actually said to me, he's like, this is a good drug. It does work. He said, but sometimes if we dose it too many times, there can be sort of a paradoxical effect where it stops working. If you're one of those doctors who's on the tit and getting that check every quarter or every 6 months or, however frequently you get it, it's going to be harder for you to see the problem because all of a sudden you have a financial incentive not to see it.
According to ProPublica, more than 2,500 doctors were paid at least $500,000 each in the space of just 5 years from drug makers and biotech companies. They've also proven that doctors who get these incentives from Big Pharma are always more likely to prescribe their drugs to patients. It's the classic reciprocity bias. When someone does something nice for you, like hand you $500,000, you're more likely to do something nice to them back, like prescribe their drugs. In every other industries, prices tend to go down over time as manufacturing improves and whatnot, but not Big Pharma. For some reason, prices are only going up. Nearly half of all Americans say their prescription drug prices have gone up over the last year. Big Pharma would say this is because we gotta fund new research and development.
Everybody in America, we live in a capitalistic economy, and profit is not a problem. Greed is where we have some issues.
There are 18 million Americans who can't afford their life-saving prescription medication, and we are gonna keep it that way. Now you may be saying, but Jake, this is great and all, but what happens when the patent on your drug expires? Is there just no more money to be made? No! See, when a patent expires, any other drug maker can produce your drug as long as they make an exact one-to-one copy of your formula. And yes, these generic versions of your drugs will only cost them a few cents to make, but does that mean the drug is gonna get cheaper for patients? No! See, what most people don't know is that most of the prescription drugs people take in America are generic. There's no patent on these drugs, and yet the masses still have to pay an arm and a leg for them, when they only cost a few cents to make. Why? Well, it's because of all the other players in the industry, with the next one being the PBMs. PBMs are probably the most hated people in the pharmaceutical industry, and for good reason. They are the middlemen. Take a really big company with a lot of employees, for example. If you have over 100 employees in America, like Ford or whatever, you gotta provide health insurance to your employees. And part of that health insurance has to cover prescription drugs. And how are you gonna handle this prescription drug portion? Well, you have to go to a PBM.
What a PBM is, Prescription Benefit Management Company, they manage the prescription benefit program for self-insured employers. And I don't know what the number is, but any employer over 100 employees, usually it's more beneficial to be self-employed. They have to go out and hire a PBM to manage the drug portion of it. You've got somebody managing the vision, the dental, the major med, and they happen to do the prescription drugs. And like I alluded to, when I got in this industry, is 2 cents of the healthcare dollar. Now it's 30 to 50 cents. Many would say that they probably have, through their tricks and games or whatever I should be saying, I'm trying to be gentle here, Jake, that they're probably the number one cause of the increase of the inflation of the drug costs. Now, it's a $645 billion industry. And when the 3 top PBMs come out in the first quarter, I remember this from this year, and they pounded their chest because they were proud that they made $61 billion a piece in 1 quarter. That's 3 months. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of profit. And some people in the industry, they scratch their head and go, you're supposed to be in the middle managing my drug costs and saving me money, when all they've been doing is sticking their hand in the cookie jar.
But that's just one way PBMs skim off the masses. There are many other ways PBMs push up the price of drugs.
If you come into my pharmacy, if your grandma comes in and she tries to fill a prescription, I'll give you metformin. My cost on metformin is roughly $2. I would sell her metformin for $4. As soon as she discloses that she has insurance, I have a gag clause. I am not allowed to tell her my cash pay price. I swipe her insurance card, Blue Cross, whatever it may be, boom, copay $10. And she gets her medicine, I charge her $10. Immediately when I swipe that card and I enter all that in the computer, I get a $7 clawback. Where does it go? It goes to the PBM.
And everything they do, they keep it a secret.
Well, so pharmacy benefit managers, though, they say that they're negotiating prices. Where can I go to learn how much they're saving us?
I haven't seen anything publicly available that reports that.
Me neither. Pharmacy benefit managers don't reveal to either health insurance companies or patients or pharmacies exactly who's getting what deal, and they make money at every step of the process. They pocket money from drug manufacturers, they pocket money from pharmacies, they pocket money from health insurance plans, and nobody knows if they're actually driving down the cost.
But like what we said earlier, PBMs are the easy ones to blame. Drug manufacturers are the easy ones to blame. What everyone forgets about when it comes to why drugs are so expensive in America are the retail pharmacies. You all know their names: CVS, Walgreens, Target, Walmart. When most people think of big pharma and like all the negative connotations of it, they typically think of the manufacturers. But earlier you said the actual pharmacies play a big role in price gouging.
If I answer this question, Jake, I'm not going to get too many Christmas cards from the retail pharmacies in America. Yeah, you're right. The story I alluded to is that I think if you were to poll 9 out of 10 of Americans, I think they would probably point their finger at the drug manufacturers, because that's what they've been led to believe. Maybe some of the politicians over the decades have pointed that way, but really the true answer is the retail pharmacies. That's where they get the drug. Like we've mentioned several times already, they get them for 2-3 cents a pill, and they're charging outrageous prices for them.
So the manufacturers, they actually, for the generic drugs at least, they actually sell them for like 2 cents to the middlemen and the pharmacies?
Yeah, it's that low. It's to your point, the same pill that is sold at all those retail pharmacies, Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, Rite Aid, and all the others, the grocery store chains, whatever, the wholesalers that sell those drugs, those medications to those outlets are the same ones that we buy ours from. So we actually have the same pill, the same medication. If you were to switch a drug from a retail pharmacy to us, it would look exactly the same because it's the exact same pill.
So what is the solution to all of this? Well, that is why Doug created America First Pharmacy.
This pharmacy program, you pay your monthly membership fee, you get access to the top 90% of the most utilized drugs in America. Those 9 out of 10 drugs are the drugs, if they were walking out of a pharmacy today, the consumer, our fellow American, would pay zero for those. That top 90% account for about 815 medications. 127 of those are acutes. Acute medications are immediate need. Mom or dad take Johnny or Susie to the doctor. They have the sniffles. You need amoxicillin or Z-Pak immediately. So you go to every pharmacy in the United States, put our membership card down, and you're going to walk out paying zero for those. The remaining 688 medications medications on the program are come out of our facility here in Akron, Ohio, mailed to your home in 1 to 2 days with free shipping and trackable by the U.S. Postal Service.
America First Pharmacy works like a gym membership, where you pay an affordable monthly membership fee and you get unlimited access to 90% of the most used prescription drugs in America. Of course, you still need a prescription, and it's already saving Americans a ton of money.
We had a gentleman, he called into the office here and he had ended up being on 5 medications. And he had just made a purchase before he became a member, before he heard about us. He was just kind of came across the program, was inquisitive, called our customer care team and was just, hey, what's this drug costs? And they're trained to ask, do you have any more? And he had 5, like I said. Well, he just went to a retail pharmacy. I'm not going to say the name, but it's very popular. And he paid $2,800 for those 5 medications. You know what he paid on our program for those 5 medications? $0. He paid his monthly membership fee because he became a member. He now gets those 5 medications for free, where he paid $2,800. Just quick math, that's over $10,000 a year if I recall. That's a tremendous savings. We just had a gentleman the other day, just a case in point, it's a fresh one. So he was on $400. He was spending $400 a month on his medications. And now he came across our program and is now paying $0.
And that's why they wanted to sponsor this video. To help get the word out that if you're being screwed over with high drug prices, it does not have to be this way. All you have to do is scroll down, click the link below, and check out their website now. America First Pharmacy is perfect for you if you don't have insurance, or if you're functionally uninsured, where the deductible you have to pay is so high that you just can't afford it. So if you or anyone you know is in this situation, scroll down, click the link below, and share it with them now. Getting rid of these insane financial incentives is the first step in corralling in this insane big pharma industry in America, so I'm really happy to support them. So if you need it, click the link below to sign up for America First Pharmacy now.